Hello everyone, thanks for dropping by. The last video I did was about an article I found, which was a sort of semi-hatchet job on MGTOW. I found another article which comes across as a full hatchet job on MGTOW. Bring it up. As you can see, it's from a tabloid newspaper here in Britain called The Sun, which isn't really much of a newspaper. It's just sex, sin and scandal, and it's owned by an Americanized Australian called Rupert Murdoch. Those of you in America will know who I mean. It was written on the 7th of June 2018 by somebody called George Harrison, probably a Beatles fan, and as a pseudonym. I suspect it's written by a woman and she comes across as quite bitter. The article goes, "Men going monk, these men hate women so much they've sworn off sex and refuse to speak to them. Meet the men going their own way." I'm not going to read through all the article. I'll put the link below so you can read it yourself, but there's one or two things that took my interest. Just skip down. You wouldn't guess it from everyone's desire to couple up on Love Island. Well, I only saw the first Love Island, no interest in any of the others. But thousands of men are so fed up with women that they're cutting them out of their lives completely. Fair enough. They're perfectly entitled to do that. I haven't cut women out of my life completely. I work with women all day. These disgruntled dudes united of their hatred of the opposite sex. No, we don't hate women. We just hate feminism and the way it's turned women's heads and corrupted their view of men. Are known as MGTOW, men going their own way, and there are tens of thousands of them from all over the world lurking in the loneliest corners of the internet. Well, the internet is an open field. There's only 4 corners on the field. One corner's occupied by feminists, one by the social justice weirdos, and the other 2 by other such people on the fringes of society. MGTOWs are not on the fringes of society. We're smack in the middle, and we just want to live our lives peacefully. Members of MGTOW communicate almost entirely online. Yeah. Sex is off the card, relationships are banned, marriage is the ultimate no-no. And if you reach the top level of MGTOW hierarchy, we don't have a hierarchy, it's a philosophy, not a structure like a cult. You're expected to quit your job, move off the grid and don't even have to look at women. If you want to do that, fine. I don't particularly want to do that. Ask these men why and they'll tell you why. Tell you it's because women can't be trusted. That's a pseudonym. That's not right. Some women can be trusted. My mother for one. They're manipulative. My mother was never manipulative. And they'll suck the joy out of your life. Somebody didn't tell Dad that. Mum and Dad were married for nearly 70 years. And rinse you of every penny you have in the process. Maybe. It's up to the guy. Anyway. Yada yada yada. Men going monk. Sounds a bit of a job, but 60,000 very serious men are subscribed to the anonymous MGTOW message board on Reddit, while thousands more belong to similar forums anywhere on the web, including MGTOW.com. That's the men who want to go public. Remember, it's a philosophy. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of men all over the world who don't go on a public forum and have just decided to live their own life quietly. Virginity is a common topic on Reddit, and many say they have proudly chosen to never have sex. Excuse me. Describing their devotion to celibacy as going monk. Fair enough, if that's what you want to do, fine. Nobody's put a gun to your head. I'll get rid of that for a start. A deep fear of false rape accusations, well, that's got a large element of truth in it. Because it's your word against her, and the police will always take her word for it. Is one of the driving forces behind this, while other men are wary of women using sex as a way to get to their wallets. Well, you don't have to get into a relationship to have sex. I'll cover that in another video. I want to die a virgin, writes one unnamed poster, saying that the Me Too movement has made sex too risky to be worthwhile. Well, you don't have to be in a relationship to have sex, as I said. Nothing wrong with not having sex, true. It's addicting and potentially dangerous, only if you don't take precautions. I would much rather be a virgin my whole life than a slave. Well, that's a silly statement to start off with. Bizarrely, others see no problem with paying for sex. Like I said, I'll cover that some other time. Most prostitutes are honest women and most women are dishonest prostitutes. Well, there's prostitutes and there's prostitutes. And I take exception to that. My mother was never like that. Mum would be horrified to think that that's how some men think of her. As one man puts it, many more say a combination of prostitution and sex dolls. Well, I don't agree with that either. Whoops. I would rather have sex with a real woman than with a piece of latex. If I decide to go that way anyway. Has allowed them to end all other relationships with women. Then it goes different stages of MGTOW, yada yada yada. This is a bit which I found interesting. Whoops. It's not a movement in a conventional sense. That's right, it's a philosophy bound by an official members list. There isn't one. But many that subscribe to its school of thought use the MGTOW logo. We can identify with that. There is no MGTOW movement. Correct. One unnamed forum user tells The Sun online, there are individuals realizing that the deck is stacked against those that choose to engage in traditional relationships and are opting out. That's right. Family-friendly courts. The man losing his home that he paid for and half of his stuff. And what does he get out of it? Nothing. He kicked out of his home, he loses custody of his children. It's not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Another explains, we're just a bunch of men who've decided to live our lives alone peacefully, without outside interference or validation. Too right. Women are programmed to ruin lives. No, feminism have programmed women to ruin lives. While the buzz around MGTOW mostly exists online, the movement has been known to occasionally creep into the real world, which is why this kind of article is a hatchet job. In the 2 years from the previous article, MGTOW has probably grown exponentially around the world, and the mainstream media are starting to see the effect it's having on the real economy, and they just don't like it because it's a threat. A smattering of men going their way, including the man in a hazard-type dress. That's this guy. That won't do anything. That's just the public face. For everyone like him, there's probably 10,000 guys that are just quietly getting on with their lives. Me being one of them. Big Johnny wants some publicity. That's entirely up to him. Meanwhile, a YouTube clip with 150,000 views. That's him. Yada, yada, yada. Elsewhere, anonymous message board threads are dedicated to discussing how much they hate white knights. Well, there's always guys that will take the woman's side. Men who occasionally jump up to women's defense in hope of hooking up with them. In other words, pussy beggars. Other kinds of people hate more, other than women, of course, and again, that's a falsehood. Are manginas, male feminists, and chads, attractive jocks. Manginas are just like white knights, but without the armour, and chads are just bad boys. In other posts, MGTOW members share accolades about their messy divorces, post memes where they talk about cutting off female family members who disagree with them. I don't really agree with that, but this bit I can agree with. In Sandman's videos, in the comment section, which I always read down partly way, because sometimes it's thousands of comments, guys have spoken of the horror stories about divorces, and it's just off-putting. That's why I'm not married, and I doubt if I'll ever be in a relationship, let alone get married. Most mothers are terrible people. Bullshit. My mother was one of the best women I've ever known, but then that's a biased statement from me, but Mum wasn't like that. Just depends on the kind of woman she is. How can the same person hang out with a woman? What a waste of life. Who says you got to? That's the whole basis of MGTOW. For men who claim to be removing women from their lives, they sure love talking about them. No, we're just discussing it. Women always talk. So why can't men? And blah, 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 blah. More about MGTOW. Whoops. This bit, as said, it was about a woman, wrote it. You can't help but imagine the women who used to be in their lives might be that much better off as well. Well, that sounds like it came from a woman and not a guy. Unfortunately, most of these 138 comments are all pro-MGTOW, and they're not falling for this bullshit article. I know that this article is old, but you are dead wrong. MGTOW is the only way for men. Why risk my life, money, sanity and dignity to get married? You also accuse us of hating women. We don't hate women, as I've said in the last two videos. The last one and this one. We just want equal rights. Yes, a level playing field. After all, men do all the heavy back-breaking work while women sit in their cushy jobs. That's right. When did you ever see an all-women construction crew? Or an all-women crew on an oil rig? That's heavy back-breaking work. Completely wrong analysis. The author has no idea of MGTOWs. Of course, the author is probably a woman. And this is not surprising, as this shows the true equality of the sun. Too right. And just this last comment. Of the top 100 richest women in the world, 2 work their way to their success via employment, investing and entrepreneurship. Well done, girls, ladies. You deserve everything you get. The remaining 98 earn their wealth through divorce, when feminists and their male supporters are losing their minds concerning men going their own way. All you have to do is follow the money. How dare men threaten the hypergamy? And this video's gone on long enough. It's about 10 minutes, so I'll leave it at that. But this, as I said, this is a hatchet job written by a woman 2 years after the previous semi-hatchet job, because the mainstream media don't like the way MGTOW is growing and they're trying to stop it. But it's too little, too late, and I can see the media attacking MGTOW non-stop in the next few years as it gets beyond critical mass, and then it has to change. Society has to change and level the playing field for men. Right, that's it for this one, people. I won't be doing a MGTOW one next week. I've got a Star Wars one in mind that I want to do. So until then, you know the routine. Like, dislike, subscribe, comment, subscribe, wherever it is. Completely up to you. So until the next one, bye-bye.